Yes, it is indeed, Mike Malloy. Welcome, everybody. It is Tuesday, day 2 of the destruction of this democracy, this democratic republic by Donald Jesus Christ Trump. I'm into it again, and so are you. Every 10 minutes there's some new horror committed by this orange son of a bitch that requires attention. Trump has already initiated a tremendous tsunami of destruction to this country, and I'm going to try to get through as much as I can here momentarily. The latest atrocity, well, not the latest, but one of the more recent atrocities, the son of a bitch has only been back in office for, 24 hours? 30 hours? What? Yesterday, he granted clemency to 1,600 people who tried to overthrow the government and the Constitution of the United States on January 6, 2021. An insurrection, an attack on Congress that this son of a bitch organized, instigated, cheered on, watched, and now he's freeing the criminals who did this. I just wonder what the megachurch Christian evangelical pastors, what are you rotten bastards going to say in your sermons this Sunday now, huh? What are you self-righteous Republicans going to say now? How are you, the school teachers in this country going to explain to children that no one is above the law? Well, except Trump and the fucking rioters and beasts in this country who tried to destroy this country. They are above the law. One of the reasons that Trump pardoned these son of a bitches is so that now they can rearm. A convicted felon in most states is not allowed to own a gun. But Trump, always thinking ahead about this little Nazi son of a bitch's plans, he's going to want an armed guard, an armed militia. And it's going to be these son of a bitches, these so-called Proud Boys and Oath Keepers that are now going to be his private group of bully boys. So he gave a full, complete, and unconditional pardon to nearly all of those people convicted of offenses that occurred on the United States Capitol January 6, 2021. They're now free men and a couple of women, right? And he also announced he was commuting the prison sentences for a handful of the January 6 convicts not given full pardons. For example, 14 top members of the far-right Oath Keepers militia and the Proud Boys, which frees them from their lengthy prison sentences. So this means that Stuart Rhodes, this Nazi fuck who led the so-called Oath Keepers, he was sentenced to 18 years in prison following his conviction for seditious conspiracy and other crimes in planning the violence against this country and our Constitution and you and me on January 6, 2021. This fucker is now a free man. And then there's Enrico or Henry Tarrio, the Proud Boys leader, who is serving a 22-year sentence following his conviction for the same thing, seditious conspiracy. And according to U.S. District Judge Timothy Kelly, who ironically was a Trump appointee, but he was the judge who sentenced this Tarrio fuck in 2023. The judge said that Tarrio was, quote, the ultimate leader, the ultimate person who organized, who was motivated by revolutionary zeal. And then the judge added some time when he applied an enhancement to the sentence for terrorism. Terrorism. And this filthy son of a bitch, Donald Trump, has now released into the general population 1,600 people who committed direct, absolute violence against the Constitution and the government of the United States. And yet this orange prick has the audacity to talk about foreign countries emptying their prisons, sending their criminals to the United States. You rotten son of a bitch, Trump. You You, a convicted felon, a rapist, a liar, a cheat, a tax evader, you are responsible for these criminals that you just released into this country. Now, by pardoning these traitors to the United States, as Mother Jones puts it, quote, Trump has used his newly restored power to extend to his followers the impunity the presidency gives to him, end quote. Which is a reference to what the Supreme Court decided last year, that a president, when acting within his presidential authority, has goddamn near the right to do anything up to and including, if I heard the recordings from the case as presented to the Supreme Court, up to and including killing someone. But Trump is a cowardly piece of human waste. He would never do that. He would just order his bully boys to go do it. I don't think Hitler, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, I don't think Hitler ever put a gun to a Jew's head and pulled the trigger. I don't think Trump, being a Hitler acolyte, would ever put a gun to the head of somebody he found distasteful and pull the trigger, but he would order his bully boys to do it just like Adolf did. But as Mother Jones puts it, in issuing these pardons in a more broad sense, what Trump is doing is using his authority to try to erase the stain of his coup attempts as he continues to insist that he actually won in 2020. And if you remember, in the incoherent remarks that this son of a bitch made during his inaugural speech, Trump picked up where he left off 4 years ago. He called the 2020 election, quote, totally rigged. He claimed the J6 attacks were nonviolent. And that constant reference during the campaign where he referred to these criminal, traitorous scum as patriots, and after they were jailed, hostages. So I think we should pay attention to the fact that what Trump is doing here with these grants of these pardons and clemency and all this other shit, it's all part of a renewed campaign to force the people of this country and our institutions to accept his insane bullshit version of self-serving reality. This is what it's about. Do you get this? Well, oh, yeah. And by the way, as reported by many news organizations, the pardons came after his inaugural speech in which Trump promised to restore, quote, law and order to American cities. Law and order. Well, and then to add just scummy, suck-ass commentary, this guy named Taylor Buttigieg, who is the Orange Bastard's incoming deputy chief of staff. He tweeted yesterday about Biden's pardons. This is what happened on Monday. Biden issued preemptive pardons both to public figures who Trump has threatened to target by his fucked up Justice Department, and the people that Biden pardoned, although no crime was ever committed. Preemptive pardons included former Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman General Mark Malloy, Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman Dr. Anthony Fauci, members and staffers of the House Committee that dug into detail about the crimes committed by Trump and his Nazi followers. Also, Biden issued preemptive pardons to Washington, D.C. and Capitol police officers who testified before the committee about the attack. And it's the same organization, not necessarily the same officers, but the D.C. cops and the Capitol Police who protected this fucking bastard yesterday when he was being sworn in. And then minutes before he left office, Biden also issued pardons for members of his family, none of whom, I'm not talking about Hunter Biden, none of whom have been charged, convicted, sentenced for anything. And this is what Biden said in the statement released while Trump's ceremony was underway. The statement said, quote, "My family has been subjected to unrelenting attacks and threats motivated solely by a desire to hurt me, the worst kind of partisan politics. Unfortunately, I have no reason to believe these attacks will end," end quote. So he issued the pardon to several members of his family. And then this Taylor Buttigieg prick, Trump's deputy chief of staff, he tweeted that President Biden's pardons, quote, get this, quote, "will go down as the greatest attack on America's justice system in history," end quote. This is the kind of shit now that the MAGA hat-wearing assholes, the Christian pastors who supported this fucker, the members of Congress, the Supreme Court justices, all these people who paved the way for a fascist takeover in this country, these are the kinds of comments you better goddamn get used to. That Biden's pardons will go down as the greatest attack on America's justice system in history. And as Mother Jones reported last year, this fucker, Taylor Buttigieg, he personally earned about $20,000 from helping to organize the activity on January 6th, the riot, the attempt to commit treason. I have no idea who paid him. And Trump was especially pissed off, as we all know now, that these pardons that Biden issued, these preemptive pardons, also covered the two Republican lawmakers who were on the J6 committee. And Trump called both of them crybabies. This fucking bastard called them crybabies. Liz Cheney, he referred to as a crying lunatic. And the Representative Adam Kinzinger, Trump said, is, quote, always crying. And then Trump repeated his filthy lie. And this will be part of MAGA lore. This will become truth. Just like Hitler's claims about the Jews, about the Roma, about the liberals, about communists, about anybody that Hitler didn't like. Trump lied and said that the J6 committee had destroyed evidence gathered in its investigation. The truth is that the committee's final report is available to anyone who wants it. It's online. Transcripts of hundreds of depositions, investigative material, all of it. And Trump hates that because it's a reminder to this orange son of a bitch that for all his now dictatorial powers, he cannot erase the history of J6. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. You know, the Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.